make sure you save your money because guess what? You do have initiation fees. A lot of people, they don't save up their money. They just spend it. They get excited like, oh shit, I'm getting union wages, not knowing, hey,
Yeah.
after the 30 days, you got to pay up. So for 728, I joined 2 years ago. Every year it goes up. I paid about 7,500. Yeah, big pill to swallow.
Welcome to The Practical Filmmaker, an educational podcast brought to you by the Filmmaker Institute and Sunscreen Film Festival, where industry professionals talk nuts and bolts and the steps they took to find their success today. On today's show, Saul Cervantes takes us into the world of the electricians, the looming union strike, and details/tips for noobs so they don't seem as green. Find the full transcripts and more at thepracticalfilmmaker.com. I'm your host, Tanya Musgrave, and today we have Saul Cervantes, an electrician in Local 728, rigging and striking and working within the warehouses of the Universal Studio backlot. He's worked on indie film and television. Welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for having me, Tanya.
Okay, first off, I'm really stoked because this is the first time I've had any rigging anybody, and I don't know, I'm excited because we've never had one of those on the show. So set the stage for us. How did you get where you are right now?
Oh wow, how did I get? Well, how you mentioned, I'm part of Local 728. I recently, about 2 years ago, got in. So my rigging, as far as union goes, is fairly new, but I've been doing this since, oh gosh, I mean, I'm 31. I've been doing this for about 8 years in the indie non-union world, And the way I got into it is just kind of fell into it. I've always wanted to kind of have a job where you work with people and you have that kind of relationship, I don't know, just working towards building something amazing. And I always loved film, so I just feel like I naturally went towards that.
Yeah. So did you go to school for like film or like electricians or?
I went to Cal State Long Beach for film and electronic arts.
Oh.
With an emphasis in cinematography. So they had multiple tracks, directing, producing, editing. I applied and I was accepted and graduated through the cinematography track.
Is that something where like that's the goal, cinematography, or is this something like actually I kind of like where I'm at?
Honestly, that's the goal. Even though people have told me I gotta concentrate on one thing, man, I gotta say there's that little kind of, I still have that little passion in me. I still want to be a DP and write. I minored in creative writing. I want to write. I want to DP my own stuff. Directing, not so much, but I don't know. I've always just kind of pull a Steven Soderbergh, or a Charlie Chaplin, or you have a lot of people that just kind of, they produce, they write, they just do their own thing, and I love that.
So what are your current strategies right now for getting closer to your goal?
Meeting people and also not giving up. Not giving up is probably the biggest one. Even though I graduated, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, I'm still working on shorts. I'm still working on indie projects as a DP. Right now I'm not a union DP. I'm not DPing big multi-million-dollar projects, and it can be hard and discouraging. But that's what I'm doing right now. I've this year, even though through the whole COVID thing, I've shot about 2-3 projects already. And you just got to do that on your own time. Just kind of keep that passion alive, keep that fire, alive. And then on your own time, kind of go for it. Do what you want,
Okay, you had mentioned like rigging and striking. You have to forgive me because I have no idea what striking means.
Striking is basically just taking down the equipment. So rigging,
Oh
it's
my
like, all
gosh.
right,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, of course. Okay, yes.
Yeah. So,
Got it.
that's what striking is. When you hear, hey, you're going to be part of the striking crew, that means that you're going to go to a location or a studio, a set, and just take down all the lights, all the, the cable and all the gear.
So you said that you had worked fairly long, I guess like what, 7 or 6 years within like non-union projects. Why
Yes.
union?
Safer, and it's also another big step towards the bigger goal. Being in the union, I get to be, even though I'm, just a regular electrician, I'm not a big, gaffer or DP. I'm shooting, I'm with the crew that's shooting a feature film with, big actors and big producers and guess what? Big DPs, right? It's almost like
Hmm.
I love it
Yeah.
because it's almost like a second school, right? I get to see how the actual DPs and gaffers light stuff. Like, oh shit, like I've never seen that technique. Like, oh really? That's the light you're gonna use,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really interesting. It takes my education, my knowledge to a
Mhm.
next level being a union member.
I've never heard of Local 728. So, like, what does it take for your particular union?
For Local 728, you have to work 30 days as a permit, which is, you have to work 30 days in a union project, shoot.
Hmm.
You have to get 30 permit days. Once you get
Okay.
30 permit days, then you can apply to be in the union. Make sure you save your money because guess what? You do have initiation fees.
Oh.
And that,
Oh.
yeah, a lot of people, they don't save up their money. They just spend it. They get excited like, oh shit, I'm getting union wages. Not knowing, hey,
Yeah.
after the 30 days, you got to pay up.
Do you mind if I ask?
No, of course not. No, anything to help a fellow brother and sister out, whatever So for 728, I joined 2 years ago. Every year it goes up. I paid about 7,500. Yeah, big pill to swallow.
All at once.
They recommend all at once. You can do two payments, but for the two payments, I believe they charge you a fee.
Really?
If
Okay.
they don't charge you a fee, then you have to pay it within like a week of something like that. Like it's just if you don't have the 7,500, you're not gonna make it. Like I remember like that was the thinking about that. Like oh shit, like the second option, which is two payments, it's not worth it.
So is this something, okay, because I remember there was another guy who was talking about quarterly payments even on top
Mm.
of those kind of initiation fees. Um,
Yep, union
like,
dues.
is that doable? Like, is that, and that's every quarter. Is it like a couple of grand? Is it like a couple of hundred?
No, no, absolutely not. No, it's way cheaper. For us, I believe it's about like a little more than 300, I believe,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
which is not bad every quarter.
Yeah.
It is a good amount of money, so make sure that you save up your money, how you mentioned it's every quarter, it's not every month or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not as big as the initiation fee.
Okay, so when you like, because you're wanting to get into, I'm assuming local 600 eventually. So is it easier to just kind of like hop, or do you have to like go through that whole entire initiation again? Just be like, well, you're joining a different union, or is this like all kind of like within the union? And
It's a little bit of both. Since I'm in a union, it's a little bit, I feel like easier for me to kind of meet people. Because once again, if I'm on a shoot or something, I have the camera department's union. So I can, talk to them and network.
well, I'm talking about like officially, like if you are in local 728, but you want to be in local 600. Would they let you just switch your union status from like one to another, or do you have to go through that whole entire?
Yes, you have to go through the whole entire thing. I would still have to get 30 days as a permit within the local 600 union.
Oh,
Once
okay.
I get all the permit days, I'm going to have to pay the initiation fee, still pay quarterly dues. Yeah.
So, any of the benefits that you earned through 728, like, like pension and that kind of thing, does that just roll over?
I believe it's all one big thing because local 600 and 700 are all part of the IATSE
Yeah.
union. Yeah, so I think the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pension is part of that. So it covers, it's all within that umbrella.
Okay, okay.
600 and 728, yeah.
Speaking of Yahtzee,
Hmm.
you're hearing some rumblings of happenings.
Yep. Yeah.
Happenings here. I hear it through the grapevine, but can you tell me more about what's going on in there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I can. I mean, it's all over the news. I've
Yeah. Oh,
read a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
articles about it. So basically, a lot of unions that are part of the IATSE
Mhm.
umbrella are kind of threatening the studios and companies to go on strike. The
Mhm.
reason for that, and I heard that it's mainly, usually it's nothing new, right? Studios and unions have been working together for many years,
Yeah.
since the beginning of film. And usually there's an understanding, right? The
Mhm.
studios want one thing, the unions want one thing, and they usually compromise and meet in the middle. But
Yeah.
now you have bigger ball players, right? It's no longer the studios. The studios are not the big dogs. The big dogs are the Netflix, the Amazon, the Disneys. These are like bigger.
Mm,
They don't want to compromise. They kind of want things done their way,
mm,
and the unions are kind of demanding that they kind of not demanding, but they kind of want to, they want to talk. They want to
mm-hmm,
compromise. It's a contract. Like, hey, no, like, look, when you work at a private company, you get every year you get a raise,
mm-hmm,
right? So we want a raise, right? Like, look, there's for years and years and years, we've been every year we get a raise. We want that to still happen. We want, our jobs can seem fun and exciting, and they are, but they're also
mm-hmm.
dangerous. A grip fell down perms. I think it was like 40 or 50 feet. Thankful. I heard that he survived. But obviously just badly injured. Broke a lot
Oh
of,
my
like, broke
stars.
everything. You hear of electricians, getting electrocuted because, whatever. You hear people getting into car crashes because they're working 16 hours,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
day for 7 days, and, they're driving home, and they, so our jobs can be demanding. It's
Mm-hmm,
labor. It is what it is. It can be physically demanding,
mm-hmm.
and it's dangerous. We know the consequences, but at the same time, we want to have certain rules and safety nets.
Yeah.
And the big companies kind of want to take that away because obviously that means money. They want it now, now, now. Look, let's just shoot for a month, 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day with minimal breaks. Let's just do the bare minimum. And we're like, well, wait, hold on. No, this is not, this is dangerous.
I heard that they were like wanting to push for some 10-hour days, huh?
Yeah, right now the minimum is 8 hours, which is an
Ooh.
8 hour workday,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But they want to push 10 hours. And here's the thing: the 8 hours is kind of like the minimum. Obviously, we go more than 8 hours. Uh,
Yeah.
but for them to kind of say, well, what about the 10 hour? Then that just means that, well, 10 hours is going to be the standard. So that means that we can totally go 14 hours.
Yeah,
If when it was eight
yeah,
hours, we could go 12, then, we could definitely keep pushing it and pushing it because it's
yeah,
about
yeah,
that OT, right?
yeah.
That's the
Yep.
thing.
I've got a question on the safety part of it because you were saying, I mean, like obviously with the amount of hours, that's definitely a safety issue. But then also, does this ever reach into like safety regulations on set?
When we do our, because when you join the union, you have to take certain safety classes.
Okay.
Nonprofit organization. I believe they're nonprofit organization, but we take classes through this organization called Contract Services,
Mm-hmm.
where we go over safety of whatever it is, fall protection, electricity, chemicals and whatnot. There's a
Mm-hmm.
list of, I don't know, 30 classes that we got to take.
Do those cost?
No,
Do those
no.
cost, or are they like, oh, and how long are those classes? Is it
Oh
like a
man,
one night a week thing, or is it like a online thing?
it varies now. It started to be an online because of COVID,
Yeah.
but usually when I first got in before COVID, it was all in person. And it varies. Some of them are an hour long. Some of them are, I think the longest one that I took was, oh geez, almost like 5 hours long.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah. But once again, it's safety, right? So you really can't, mess around with safety. It is
No,
what it
not at
is.
all.
You want to make sure that you know what you're doing because it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's, it's fun, it's great. But at the same time, you're doing dangerous work. You're working with lights. One wrong thing, especially as an electrician, you plug in, a four wrong or plug into like a hot power with the neutral. Like it's just you can
Mm-hmm.
definitely find ways to hurt yourself. It's not really about yourself. It's also about your brothers and sisters, right? It's about the people you're working with,
Absolutely.
keeping them safe as well.
Does any of this strike, does it only really kind of deal with pay, or is it more on kind of like like, or at all with safety regulation and stuff like that too?
It's also safety regulations, especially with COVID. There's certain regulations that, whether it's OSHA or,
Mm-hmm.
the government wants us to take. But then you have companies
Mm-hmm.
kind of saying like, well,
Mm-hmm.
this costs money. Do we really need this?
I'm guessing that you follow shitty rigs.
I'm not on social media anymore, but when I was, yes, I love Shitty Rigs. Yes. Yes. Shout out to Shitty Rigs.
So, I mean, okay, I remember seeing this one where they had like this C stand like sideways on a wall, used it as a spreader and rigged lights on it, right? And of course, like comment after comment underneath was like mentioning safety and how they would never like, all right, now you're just being reckless and you're just like kind of promoting these kinds of hazards, right? I kind of want to know within your job what that kind of difference, like what is something that you look for, some the difference between a meh and a stupid kind of job and a solid, I'm going to hire you back because that is ingenious and safe. But like, what would you look for in a beginner?
Someone who listens.
Hmm.
Honestly, someone who listens, whether it's, working with someone who's new, or, I'm working on an indie project and, the producer tells me, hey, I got these guys that are willing to help, but they're new. I always say, like, you know what, it's fine. Just give me someone that will listen and is willing to work.
Mm.
Because I've had my share of people who know their stuff, but are just lazy,
Mm.
or don't want to, they just want to collect the check. They don't care. They don't care about the project. They don't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that. I don't want that. I'd rather get someone who wants to be there, who wants to learn, who listens, and I'll teach them.
Yeah.
We make films. We're not brain surgeons. We're not rocket scientists. It doesn't take a long time to teach someone how to set up a C-stand or how to put up a light or this and
Yeah,
that, right? It just
yeah,
takes
yeah.
patience.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so that's something that I look forward to. So if you don't know anything, that's fine. Just listen. That's the biggest thing, because you also have people that don't know what they're doing,
Mm.
and they just talk.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about questions.
Yeah.
If you ask questions, please ask questions. That's the most important thing. Don't
Mm.
assume anything. If you don't know what something is, ask questions. I'm talking about just people just rambling, nonsense or whatever.
I was on a set this summer, and oh my stars, like this kid, oh, he didn't listen. And it was so freaking frustrating. And it's like, never hiring you again. And anyway,
Oh God.
but past that, what is a skill though that somebody could develop that you would just be like, okay, this is actually very useful for you to know in this particular field?
Study your knots, right? It's such a weird thing, but especially if you're going to be rigging, you got to know your knots. Trust me, when you're lifting a 4/0 up in the perms, you don't want to hold that for a long time, especially if you're dropping it down. Like, you got to know your knots. Your voltage, that's very important as well. That's really more if you want to be like a gaffer or a best boy. But if you're just starting off, learn basic cable. What's a 4/0? What's a 2/0? Socko. Learn little tricks. It's detail. That's the thing, because as you go up in the ladder, right? That's when you gotta know, kind of like, all right, the voltage, the wattage, all right, this and that, because you're building the rig, right? You're the one that's making the decisions. Hey, we're gonna have a light here. We're gonna have a 18K here, a little baby here. When you're just starting off, you're not making those calls, right? But what you do need to know is you're the one that's setting up the cable. So if someone tells you, hey, go to the car, go to the truck, get me a 50-foot 4/0, know what that is. Just know your gear, know your equipment, know how to label them, right? That's very, very important, because you're also going to be labeling. Organization is key, right? Know your 4/0 knots. If the people that, don't know what 4/0 knots are, is just, a way to distinguish every, 4/0 piece has a sash, string, and then you kind of do knots according to the color. So know that. That's very important, because, it keeps you organized, but it's also safety, something for safety.
Yeah, that's a huge thing in climbing even. I mean, like,
Oh.
experienced climbers have fallen to their deaths because their knots were not dressed and they used like their colors. I mean, yeah,
Wow.
it was off.
Detail.
So, knots. What knots?
You have your clove hitch, your square knot, your high knot, which I don't, it's more of that's definitely like a rigging knot. Bowline. Really, those are like the 3 knots. Not that many knots, only like 3 or 4 knots, but they're very important. And honestly, the little small details like that you'll stand out.
Okay, tools.
Tools.
Continue.
Yeah, tools. Well, I got my big tools. I got my tool bag. I don't like tools. You need tools. Tools.
Do you mind actually just kind of like walking us through just like a little bit of what you have and why?
Well,
Or maybe not even why, just like what do you
Yeah.
what you have?
Sure. I mean, most of my tools I left at the warehouse, because I have a locker room.
Okay.
Tool belt. Don't be carrying your tools in your pocket. It's just not safe, right?
Yeah.
You bent down or whatever. Make sure you gotta have a tool belt. And you don't even need that many tools. Just have like a C wrench, a Leatherman. You got a tester, Sharpies. A lot of people don't really realize like Sharpies, red, blue, and black Sharpie. Those are very important, right? Talking about safety, label everything. Yeah, just a pocket knife.
What does like red, blue, and black? What do those mean?
So black is just kind of like your basic whatever. Like let's say you're rigging a lamp at a desk, right?
Yeah.
So you'll just get whatever you run your stinger to the lamp, and you'll just kind of like label that stinger to the lunchbox or wherever you're getting power from. A desk lamp or desk fixture or whatever with black, right? It's just kind of like a basic name. Your red is for hot power. So like let's say you're dropping a 100 amp bait. You want to make sure that you label it hot power. That way, if someone sees that, they don't think that it's not active or live, or they know like, hey, look, I need power. If the gaffer sees that and he needs a lunchbox or something there, he'll know, all right, cool, this is hot. I can plug it in.
Yeah.
Blue is for DMX. But if you ever see something labeled blue, it's for DMX.
I want to know what gear or gadget is your old reliable?
You know what? A pocket knife. A pocket knife and gloves. Good Lord.
Yes.
That's another thing. Wear gloves. Oh, man. Especially if you're on your location. Because sometimes you're on location, you got to throw cable or something down an alley. And downtown alleys are not the cleanest. Talking about COVID, but even before COVID, you have a lot of people grabbing the equipment, people dropping it on the ground. You just gloves and a pocket knife.
All right, so now for your favorite new gadget, something that revolutionizes how you work.
Whether I'm rigging or striking, there's really no new tools. But when I do work as a DP, I have like a little folder with all my apps.
Yeah, favorite apps. Like, what are some of your favorite apps?
Have you heard of Shot Designer?
Mm-mm.
No. So it's I worked with this DP, and he always used it when he kind of like did diagrams about like what we're gonna shoot. Where he would put kind of like it's an app where you can create diagrams. Like you can put props, you can put lighting, and it's just it's a very helpful tool. So I use that a lot.
Does it have any quirks that you can think of? Like, hey, yeah, this works great, except for if you do this.
I feel like it glitches a lot. Shot Designer.
I got
so
you.
you do have to have patience with it.
I got you. But okay, so I'm actually kind of curious, like what current project you're excited about.
On the side, I DP and I'm doing pre-production for this short film with a director who is really amazing. The short's called Lotus.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, really great script. I love working with this director.
And this is the question that I ask everybody. What questions should I have asked you? What did I miss?
No, like these are questions. These are good questions that you're coming up with. And I feel like it's important for people to know. Especially out there in LA. Like it's tough. It's a grind, but it's sometimes when I feel kind of like a little discouraged, I just tell myself it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta hang in there. Out of all my friends that I made in film school, I think only about, honestly, like 3 are still doing film.
Out of how many?
Oh man, I would have maybe like, let's say 15 friends that I really kind of, made films and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nothing bad, Hey,
Yeah.
you go to college when you're, 18, 20, you think it's going to be this luxurious life. Like, yeah, I'm going to graduate. As soon as I graduate, I'm going to make my my $1 million film and this and that. Cut to 5 years later and you're working at Starbucks, And
you know what? That's okay.
Exactly. It's not bad. It's not bad. But if you want to do film, understand what it is, be realistic, and once again, if you're passionate about it, it's not gonna bug you. I'm low key kind of nervous, like, oh shit, there might be a strike, and then some people are saying this might be like half a year to like maybe a year. Like, what the hell am I gonna do?
Whoa, what? Are you serious?
That's what I'm hearing. I don't know. Thinking about that, there's times where I think of like, oh shit, like should I bail? Should I just do something else? Or but then I start thinking like, I don't want to do anything else. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
If I have to get a job at Starbucks or something, fuck it. But this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to support, my fellow union, members and brothers and sisters and just make it happen.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, there is nothing wrong with finding that job that will like sustain you through that kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with it. You're taking care of yourself. So,
No, as
yeah.
long as you're hustling. You know, another friend, one of my friends that ended up getting into the writers union. He was a teacher,
Mm,
really good writer. He was a teacher, and what he would do is he'll just work. As soon as he gets off, he'll write. And I
mm,
think he was doing that for about 3 years, and finally he got that break, met the
mm-hmm.
right person, and boom, got a representative, got an agent,
Dang.
got into the union.
Yeah.
So it's just it's you got to hang in there. I used to teach film,
Mm,
at a nonprofit. I taught middle school kids film,
okay. Yeah.
and even though I went to film school, every time they will come up to me and say, "Oh, like I want to go to USC, I want to go to UCLA, NYU to major in film," I would tell them like, "Don't do it." Not in a discouraging way. Just like, look, if you're
Yeah.
gonna go to
Yeah.
college, especially these amazing schools,
Mm,
don't waste money on film because
mm,
you can only read so many books. You can only watch so many YouTube videos on film, right?
mm-hmm.
Like if you're gonna go to school and you want to be a director, a producer, a DP, if you want to be like one of the hold a title, study
Mm.
business, study marketing, right? Because at the end of the
Ooh.
day, you're gonna be you are your own business. You have to put yourself out there.
Mm,
As far as the things that you can learn on film, man, just go to Craigslist, go to Mandy.com. Facebook now has like LA, production pages and stuff. Like the way you study film is through doing it, through experience. Go out there.
mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's the best knowledge you can get. Don't spend $50,000 learning what a C stand is, right? You don't need that. Just go out there
$50,000
and
a year.
yeah, like go out there and you'll learn quick when the gaffer yells at you for bringing him a baby stand instead of a C stand, right? Like then you'll remember, oh, shit, okay, this is a C stand. Like that's how you learn. I think of my experience in film,
Yeah.
and it was fun. I met a lot of people. I had fun. It was a great college experience, but
Mm,
80% of my knowledge that I use today, I gained doing these shoots, right? Going to
mm-hmm.
Craigslist, going to Mandy.com, volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
working for free, PAing. That's that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I learned.
Thank you so much for bringing a whole completely different world. Like, it's extremely valuable for our listeners. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for bringing me, and I hope I was able to give you guys something.
You were able to give a lot because honestly, again, we have not had an electrician or like a rigging anything on the show yet. If you enjoyed this interview, follow us right here and on Instagram and check out more episodes at thepracticalfilmmaker.com. If you have comments or questions, feel free to email me at Tanya@thepracticalfilmmaker.com or DM me on Insta. Be well and God bless. We'll see you next time on The Practical Filmmaker.